Hey everybody, my name is Jared Tate and I would like to welcome you to the very first ever episode of Digital Cognition. Digital Cognition is a new podcast and video blog series that I'm starting where we discuss new technologies and how those new technologies will shape the future and make our lives better. For a long time, I've been very passionate about new technology and the constant eagerness in searching out of new ideas and new innovation led me to discover blockchain technology in 2012, which most of you know probably initially watching this. As the founder of the Digibyte blockchain, blockchain technology has been something I've been very passionate about. However, that's not my only passion. There is a lot of extremely important new technology that has been developed, is being developed, and I believe not just any single one of these new technologies is going to be the most important. I actually believe it's a combination of how these new technologies are being used together that is really going to shape our future. So with that, I'd like to kick off the top 10 technology trends that I am watching closely in 2023. Now, I'm sure most of you probably already guessed what number one is, and that is artificial intelligence. You know, the latest advances with ChatGPT, which is the new chat AI system that was recently released last fall by OpenAI, kind of took me off guard. You know, I was with a lot of people who kind of thought a general intelligence like AI was still a ways off. You know, I know most of you have probably had experience with those annoying call center automated, call tellers that, just you can't really get what you want. They don't listen. Same thing with chatbots. Well, that's changed after the release of GPT-3 and OpenAI. I've been using it here heavily for about the last month, and I've been absolutely blown away what all you can do with this new OpenAI. Whether it's code editing, whether it's generating a 5-paragraph essay, it's absolutely mind-blowing the level of intelligence that this new OpenAI has with ChatGPT. In fact, it's passed the medical licensing board and a bunch of other sophisticated exams. So this really is a huge breakthrough. And throughout 2023, almost every day, you're going to hear about some new application leveraging either OpenAI or one of its competitors. So that's, as you can see here, you can do everything from creating an ad for a new product to explaining code to multiple different types of literary applications, and it's only getting started. So in fact, there's been so much of a stir and a buzz about OpenAI that it's actually pushing Google to move and advance their competitive program that they've been working on, although I don't think it's fully released yet. But I have to say, I'm starting to use the OpenAI playground about half the time instead of doing a Google search. Basically I'll go ask some questions in AI, and then if I need to fill in some context, then I'll do a Google search. So I actually think that there's a real threat that OpenAI could challenge Google search in the near term future here. There's so many applications for AI, and it's going to filter into every aspect of our everyday lives. So, not just anything you do with coding and computers, but I think it's really going to help move along autonomous driving. So one of the things that I found interesting is Mercedes actually becomes the first certified level 3 autonomous car in the US. So I think you're about to see a lot more autonomous driven AI powered cars on the road in 2023. That trend is only going to accelerate. And once again, you're going to see AI it's going to change everything. I mean, this is on par with the equivalent, I think, of the internet in 1994, or the creation of the of electricity or the steam engine. I mean, this is a pivotal point in human history. So it's something everybody needs to pay attention to. And I, as a programmer and developer, used to think we would be the last ones to be automated and out of a job. And I actually think we might be the first ones. So definitely something. So what is the second thing I'm watching in 2023? And well, you probably guessed it, blockchain technology. If you may not know, I'm the founder of the Digibyte blockchain, which is an open source blockchain that's been around since 2014. I've worked on numerous blockchain, projects, wallets, platforms over the years. And I actually think blockchain technology is really just coming into its element. And I think 2023 is going to be a spectacular year for new ideas, new creations, and new, concepts. I mean, every day I'm learning about new ideas and use cases where blockchain technology can be implemented. However, I think it might be a bit of a rough year market-wise. I think it's going to be a brilliant year when it comes to new technology and new platforms. I think up here, if you go to coinmarketcap.com, there's over 22,000 cryptos that they've listed. That's just absolutely mind-blowing. There's a lot of scams and a lot of fraud, but, there's some real good golden nuggets of new ideas and innovation mixed in. And as blockchain technology is more researched and more understood, you're going to have the integration into the rest of the economy happening much faster. And I think that's really going to be pushed along from three different ways. Smart contracts. I think you're going to, in the future, everything's going to be running on some sort of blockchain smart contract, whether it's insurance, whether it's finance, whether it's legal, you name it. The next thing would be security. I think with the mass increase in cybersecurity incidents and the potential for blockchain technology to be used to secure your personal information, your personal data, I think you're finally going to see a push in the security realm with blockchain technology. But we could go on for hours just about blockchain technology. So what is the third thing that I am watching in 2023? Well, it's something I'm actually very fascinated and interested in, and that's 3D printing. But not just any kind of 3D printing. We're talking about 3D printed homes, where basically they create you've seen the desktop 3D printers. Well, they basically, on a construction site, create this giant 3D printer that creates these amazing houses at a fraction of the traditional cost. Now, there's multiple startups that are already out there building these 3D printed homes. You have Buffalo 3D, I think, out of New York. I think you have Icon out of Austin, Texas. And it's absolutely going to, I believe it's truly going to revolutionize the construction industry over the next 5 to 10 years. Because if you can build a 2,000 square foot house, for 1/10 the cost of a traditional stick frame, to me, that's a game changer. And it's something I personally have been looking at investing and trying to get involved in and bring the first 3D printed dwellings to where I am. But 3D printing, it's not just a revolution for construction, it's also metal. You're seeing all sorts of commercial 3D metal 3D printers that are hitting the market. As you can see here, there's an article about aluminum 3D printing. So I think, again, over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a dramatic change in the way stuff is created. Instead of these traditional supply systems where you have parts made in one part of the world or then shipped on an ocean container to another, you're just gonna go down your local hardware store and they're gonna 3D print the part you need on demand. In fact, UPS has discussed that they may no longer be in the shipping business, and instead they're gonna have to create or turn their storefronts into possible 3D printing locations. So I think that's a trend that's going to rapidly change. And not just metal, but also healthcare. Basically, you've had this huge open source movement with 3D printed prosthetics, for amputees and people who have lost limbs. And as you can see here, here's an article where wounded Ukrainian soldiers are being fitted with 3D printed prosthetics. And a lot of these designs are open source. You can actually go get the files and print them on your own 3D printer at home. It's pretty amazing. So that's why 3D printing is number 3. Now, what is number 4 that I'm watching? Well, oh, and actually I forgot here. Food. They're 3D printing food now. There's this huge push where not just, lab-grown meat and stuff like that, but actually, like, this company is 3D printing steak or seafood. It's kind of mind-blowing. But, there may become a day when you go in your kitchen and, just like you have your microwave and your fridge and your dishwasher, you might have your food 3D printer. And it's like, hey, what do I want today? And it just prints it on demand. It's possible. It's the future. So anyway, I kind of gave away number 4 here. But the number 4 thing that I am watching is drones. Drone deliveries. Now, I don't know if you'd heard yet, but Amazon at the beginning of this year has actually started delivering packages in Texas and California. This is something I've been passionate about. I first started building drones when I was a little kid. Actually, back then we didn't call them drones, but radio-controlled airplanes back then. But this push for deliveries has been in the works for a long time, but it's finally happening. And actually, Walmart is now doing package deliveries in Arkansas, I believe, and now Utah as of this week. So I think here within the next 12 to 24 months, you're going to get very used to seeing these little buzzing sounds flying over your head. And there's a lot of applications for drones. I mean, not just deliveries, but we're talking emergency services, infrastructure, construction, real estate, you name it. And there's a lot of innovative use cases for blockchain technology and AI in the drone world. So that's something we can talk about on later videos. So what is number 5? Well, that would be robotics. As you can see here, here's the latest video from Boston Dynamics, where their robot is not only climbing stairs, but jumping, and then has the ability to throw a tool bag, simulating work on a construction set. That's pretty mind-blowing. So obviously, I think robotics, we've had robots making stuff for a long time, but I really think we're about to see this massive acceleration in the development of robots in every aspect of our lives. And in fact, if you look here at this article about robots on the construction sites, there may come a day not too far from here where robots are basically doing all the construction and all the work. So whether it's bricklaying robots, whether it's demolition robots, the Terminator, or self-driving robots, it's pretty amazing some of the technology that's being developed and will continue to be developed. So, robotics, the sky's probably the limit. I envision a point at some point in the future in humanity when any sort of manual labor or tedious task is, done by a robot. I mean, for 3 years now, have had robots vacuuming my floor, 3 or 4 times a week. So the technology's here, and I think there's a ton of applications that can make our lives better, as long as the AI doesn't take over and use the robots to, destroy us all, right? So that's number 5. Number 6, the Metaverse. So, this Metaverse is this term that everybody kind of throws around and everybody has a different kind of understanding of and description. And I like to kind of separate it with, okay, you have the Metaverse, which is all virtual reality, 3D, but then you have augmented reality, which kind of blends reality into the Metaverse. And I think our understanding of how the Metaverse is going to change and influence our everyday life, is just in its infancy. But because of these advances in AI, I think AI is going to supercharge the creation of content in the Metaverse. So I think, a lot of people aren't taking it seriously yet. But, the Metaverse is already being used in education. Conceptually, it's very powerful for helping, mechanics that work on aircraft or surgeons that operate on patients. This Metaverse where you create a virtual training world, I really think is going to get its first boost in education and training because, for instance, like let's take, a multi-million dollar airplane. Isn't it much easier to train somebody to not only fly it in a virtual world that mimics everything, but also to fix it. It's much cheaper, much more efficient. So I think education and training is going to get a lot of attention. Well, it is, and it's going to continue to grow. But also, entertainment. I think we've only scratched the surface of how the metaverse is going to change the way we experience movies, the way we experience content. And it's going to be exciting to see how that development continues. So let's see here. Oh, this was an interesting article I read about the metaverse from the perspective of a surgeon. It's a great article on Forbes. So let's see here. Number 7. This is something I personally am very interested in, and that is off-grid and self-sustaining living. I.e., you basically generate your own power, you grow your own food, and you're as self-sufficient as you can be. Given current inflation, food price increases, the shortages we've seen over the last few years, there's been a huge trend of a lot of people that, want to become as self-sufficient as possible. And I think that's a healthy idea for all of us moving forward. One of the things that I actually started doing this year is I got one of these things called a grow tower. And it basically sits in my kitchen, and it can grow like up to 30 plants at 5 times the speed as something that's planted outside, and it grows year round. So you have healthy food right there in your kitchen. So that's one area. I personally have been going off grid with a solar battery bank and solar panels, and trying to generate as much of my own energy as I can. And I think this trend is going to accelerate. And, if you looked at CES this year, the Consumer Electronics Show, there were a lot of kitchen appliances, aimed towards basically growing your own organic food right in your own kitchen. And I think that's a trend that's going to continue. Number 5, 5G and the Internet of Things. So I'm sure all of you have probably heard about 5G at this point in the Internet of Things. But I think it's really underappreciated at the potential that it offers, once again, almost every industry. Because you're talking about, an extreme increase in data speeds and the amount of devices and smart devices that can be connected. So here's an interesting article on Intel where they basically outline the use cases for 5th generation wireless and the Internet of Things, and it really is across the board. So empowering AI by connecting all these smart sensors and devices, whether it's in a smart city or even just any kind of environment, a farm, a store, a manufacturing plant. It really is just going to accelerate the pace of automation and analytics, and it's going to work hand in hand, with robotics and automation, as well as artificial intelligence. But it's also going to need something like a blockchain to help secure it and handle transactions and all sorts of stuff. And so once again, all these technologies are going to merge together and do some cool stuff. So I think you're going to see a huge push for these smart cities, which, it's helpful. I mean, if you can help manage traffic flow through a city, logistical systems, like the water, electricity, as it gets smarter, it gets more efficient, and it makes our lives better and easier and brings down costs. So, 5G technology, it's eventually going to find its way into everything. So, wearable technology, smart home automation, as I think I have over 50 or 60 smart devices in my house now, and they're all connected together. That trend's only going to continue. And now on to number 9. And the number 9 thing that I'm watching this year is actually home health and biometrics. Because of COVID and everything that happened with that whole situation, there was a huge push to be able to visit and talk to your daughter at home. But not only that, there's a lot of new smart devices and wearable devices that are connected to the Internet of Things and are able to analyze your own body in real time at home. It's something I use almost on a daily basis to monitor my blood pressure, heart rate, blood oxygen levels, etc. But as these devices get smarter and as there's more tools available, you're going to be able to do some pretty remarkable things. One of those tools that's already available is something called selfdecode.com, where basically you send them a swab of your DNA. And they are using AI to generate these very detailed, extensive reports on different subjects, like, for instance, cancer or stress or sleep. And they analyze your genes and they basically make recommendations and lifestyle improvements that you can make to help change and personalize your own supplement regimen or diet for yourself. It's something I've used extensively. I've been using it for about a year now, a year and a half, and I've been blown away with some of the improvements I've been able to make. One of those things I tweeted about was adding L-tyrosine, which is an amino acid, to my morning, basically coffee with salmon oil. Absolute game changer in terms of focus and motivation to get stuff done. But that comes from analyzing my own specific individual genes and getting suggestions based on that. So I think this trend is going to absolutely continue, where you're going to have personalized medicine, personalized drugs, personalized fitness. Everybody's different. Everybody has different genes. So, this idea of understanding of our own biometrics and biochemistry from the comfort of our own home, I think is just absolutely going to explode over the next few years. There's other interesting use cases of biometrics. If you hadn't heard, Amazon, who owns Whole Foods, has just expanded their palm scanning technology to over 65 more Whole Food stores. So what is that? Well, you basically go to pay for your food and it scans your palm print. I'm not really convinced on that, but hey, that's kind of the world we're moving into in the future. So who knows what kind of future applications. You go to the airport and they already have the retina scan thing going on. Biometrics is going to be a huge field that moves forward. And, it's something we have to be very concerned with, which is the privacy and data of our own genes and our own security, right? I mean, that's kind of why I went with SelfDecode. Is in their agreement, they agree not to sell my DNA to other entities and groups like other DNA analysis firms have. I'm not going to mention and get into that. But that's something we really need to be concerned about, is protecting our own biometrics. And how do we secure that? Well, that's a great application and use case for blockchain technology. Something to think about. So on to number 10. Number 10, the final thing I'm watching, and that is quantum computing. And I kind of look at quantum computing, and I don't want to make the mistake that I was with AI. I thought we were years off from some sort of general purpose, useful AI system. Well, then all of a sudden, bam, in December, we had it. I think that might be the way that quantum computing happens, and it may happen sooner than we think. And, if you're not too familiar with quantum computing, just know this: it will be almost as big or as big of a change in everything as artificial intelligence. And the biggest thing that quantum computing will do is turbocharge artificial intelligence development, stratospherically. And it's going to impact everything, from drug discovery to weather forecasting to, all sorts of research and science. And to most importantly, it's basically going to disrupt the security architecture of the internet. So almost all forms of cryptography with the right supercharged quantum computers are going to be broken. So we literally will have to rebuild everything from the ground up, and everything will happen at such an accelerated pace that it'll just be mind-blowing. And how I was saying that, the first real-world use cases might come soon? Well, they kind of already are. So NVIDIA last year, and this is something I didn't realize, released what they call quantum optimized device architecture, or QODA. Well, there's already companies that are using this for drug research. And the idea is, instead of having just a straight up quantum computer that's on its own, you merge it with existing technology and kind of make like a hybrid approach. And so that's already being done. It's already being implemented. And I think we should have some rapid developments with this kind of architecture and other architecture in 2023. And like I said, I think it's going to happen faster than we all think. So anyway, there you have it. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you like this. Please subscribe. You know, I'm trying to grow my channel so I can put out more content like this. And throughout 2023, I'm going to dive into all of these technology trends in greater detail and talk about ways and use cases where they can be combined to create innovative new use cases that help make our everyday lives better. So with that, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, stay tuned, and until next time, take care. Cheers.